If I were to ask you right now, lower class, middle class, or upper class, which one are you? Do you know what most of you would do? You'd look at your salary, the neighborhood you live in, the car you drive. You'd say, A, I'm not doing too bad. Or you'd think, man, where does all my money even go? Both answers actually lead to the same place because both are the wrong measurement. The wealth class has absolutely nothing to do with salary, cars, or neighborhoods. My friends, everything depends on a single number, your net worth, and when you calculate that number, the vast majority of people realize they aren't where they thought they were. In other words, while they think I'm middle class, they see they are actually somewhere else entirely. Today, I'm going to climb the entire wealth ladder with you, step by step, from the very bottom to the very top. But not like a boring lecture. We're going to talk like friends having coffee. And to do this, we'll use real numbers. The person we'll follow is named Kate. She's 34 years old and earns $85,000 a year. She has a good job, a nice apartment, a cool car, and she puts a little money into her retirement account every month. Kate considers herself comfortably middle class. But when we calculate Kate's net worth, she's in the bottom 25%. This isn't an exaggeration, it's math. I'll show you step by step why that is and what she needs to do. But before we climb the ladder, we need to clear something up, buddies. Your income is not your wealth. Net worth means this: the value of everything you own, home, savings, retirement account, car, investments, minus the total of your debts, mortgage, car loan, student debt, credit card. That single number determines where you stand on the ladder, not salary. Let me say that again because it's very important. Not salary. The data we're using comes from the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, the most comprehensive wealth study in the country, and some of these figures will truly surprise you. To be honest, they surprised me too. The first time I saw them, I said, this can't be right. But apparently, it is. Let's go back to Kate. Kate is 34, a marketing manager, earning $85,000 a year. After taxes, she takes home about $5,200 a month. Her rent is $1,600. She drives a 2022 model sedan, and she makes some contributions to her retirement account. Kate feels pretty good. But what do the numbers say? On the assets side, the car is worth $22,000. She has $12,000 in her retirement account, $3,000 in savings. Total, $37,000. Now, the debts side, $18,000 left on the car loan, $26,000 left in student debt. Total, $44,000, $37,000 minus $44,000. Kate's net worth, negative $7,000. Yes, you read that right, negative $7,000. She earns $85,000 a year. Lives like the middle class, and technically, she's broke. Sounds like a joke, right? But it's not a joke. This is the reality for millions of people. Good salary, sub-zero net worth. Let's look at what this bracket means. The bottom 25%, net worth, under $23,000. This is where Kate stands right now. The bottom quarter of American households has a net worth of approximately under $23,000, and a large portion of this group has a net worth of zero or below, meaning their debts completely wipe out their assets. Most people think at this point, this bracket must be full of minimum wage workers. Wrong. There are people in this group earning $60, $70, $80, even $90,000 a year. Money comes in, money goes out. There's the car payment, student debt, rent, plus credit card debt accumulated over the years. The income looks middle class. The net worth does not. In Kate's case, the culprit is clear. She isn't a homeowner, which is the biggest source of wealth for most Americans. Her debts exceed her assets, and her retirement savings are tiny compared to her salary. She's earned a good salary for years, but the net worth needle has barely moved. This is the trap of this bracket. You can win by living well without ever building real wealth. Lower middle class, $23,000 to $179,000 to climb to this step. Kate needs to reach a net worth of at least $23,000. She's currently at negative $7,000. So, she needs to close a $30,000 gap. How? There are really only two levers. You either grow your assets or shrink your debts. If Kate puts an extra $500 a month toward her student debt on top of the minimum payment, she can finish that debt in about 3.5 years. Just by doing that and continuing to save modestly, her net worth would cross the $23,000 threshold. Welcome to the lower middle class. But let me tell you, most households in this bracket didn't get here by making perfect investments. They got here by buying a house. The majority of net worth for households in this range consists of home equity. A typical household might look like this. A $300,000 house with a $240,000 mortgage, that's $60,000 in equity. Add a $15,000 retirement account and $8,000 in savings. Subtract a $12,000 car loan. Net worth is about $71,000. Sounds nice, but look closer. Most of that net worth is locked inside the house. It's money imprisoned in the home. You can't buy groceries with home equity. You can't use it in an emergency, not without selling the house or taking on new debt. The money you can actually reach is maybe $10,000, $15,000. So this bracket is progress, yes. But financial fragility is still very real. A job loss, a health crisis, a major car repair, any of these can shake a household at this level. Uncomfortable? Yes, but you need to know it. The median, $193,000. This is the exact middle point. The number where exactly half of American households are above and half are below. Approximately $193,000. When you hear this, one of two reactions usually follows. Either you say, "That's so little," because you constantly watch news about stocks and housing prices and feel like everyone else is rich. Or you say, "That's so much, I'm so far away." Both reactions reveal the same thing. Most people don't know where the middle actually is. The net worth composition at this level is usually maybe $120,000 in home equity, $50,000 in retirement accounts, and $15,000 in savings. There is some consumer debt, but it's manageable. On the surface, the median household seems to be getting by. Steady income, decent home, some savings. But when you hear this number, your stomach will tighten. When you take out home equity, meaning the money you can actually access and use, the median liquid net worth is likely around $30,000, $40,000. That's it. That is the financial cushion for half of America. And this number explains how a single unexpected event, a layoff, a hospital bill, a crisis can bring a household to its knees. The median isn't broke, but it isn't secure either. There's a very meaningful difference between the two. Upper middle class, $193,000 to $610,000. This is where things change fundamentally. Below this level, the bulk of net worth is home equity. People build wealth almost by accident, just by paying their mortgage. But in this bracket, intentional wealth accumulation begins. Retirement accounts grow. Some households have brokerage accounts. The asset mix diversifies. At the lower end of this range, say at $250,000, the ratio might still be 70% home, 30% others. But as a household reaches $500,000, that ratio nears 50 to 50. Half in the home, half in investments. This rebalancing is critical because investments grow. They work with compound interest, they produce returns. A house just sits there. It can gain value, yes, but you can't spend that increase without selling or borrowing. The people in this bracket share common habits. They make regular contributions to retirement accounts. They carry debt, but smart debt. A low-interest mortgage, not high-interest credit card balances. They think about money differently. And here's the most important part. This bracket is a launchpad. Households that build steady and diversified growth here don't just move forward slowly. They gain momentum. Because once your investments reach a critical mass, compound growth starts doing the heavy lifting. Going from $600,000 to $1 million looks massive from below. But math shows it takes much less time than going from $0 to $600,000. Compound growth is not linear, it's exponential, and it kicks in hard right at this bracket. Upper class, $610,000 to $1.72 million. Now we are in the top 25% of American households. At this level, the financial picture looks completely different from everything below. The biggest change, investments now dominate net worth. About 70 to 75% of net worth is in financial assets, retirement accounts, brokerage accounts, business interests, maybe rental properties. Home equity is still there, but it's now a small slice of the pie. This is the reversal point. Below this bracket, your home is your biggest asset. Above it, your investments are. Let's look at how the real math works. Someone who starts investing $1,000 a month at age 30 and gets an average annual return of 7% would reach about $560,000 after 20 years. Add $200,000 in home equity at age 50, you're sitting at $760,000. No inheritance, no six-figure salary, just consistent investment over time. Now, here's something interesting. Most of the people in this bracket are not who you'd expect. They're not flashy. They don't drive luxury cars or wear designer clothes. Research consistently shows that the vast majority of households in this range built their wealth not through high income, but through disciplined saving and investing. There's a reason the phrase high income, low net worth exists. Plenty of people earning $200,000 a year never reach this bracket, while people earning $90,000 do. The difference is not in what you earn, but in what you keep and what you invest. Top 10%, $1.72 million and above. We've reached the top of the ladder. To enter this bracket, a household needs a net worth of approximately $1.72 million or more. At this level, wealth works fundamentally differently. A $1.72 million portfolio with a modest 4% annual return generates about $69,000 a year in passive income, without ever touching the principal. That is above the median household income in the US, and it comes entirely from investments. Money works harder than most people do. The households in this bracket have generally reached full financial independence, or are very close. Their investments can sustain their lifestyle without a paycheck. This doesn't mean they've all quit working. Most haven't, but the dynamic has changed. Work has become a choice, not a necessity. And even within this top 10%, the gap is enormous. At $1.72 million, you're at the threshold, but the top 1% starts at roughly $12 to $13 million. The top 0.1% is above $40 million. The wealth gap within the wealthy is just as dramatic as the gap between the wealthy and everyone else. But what matters here is this: you don't need to be in the top 1%. Reaching the top 10%, $1.72 million is achievable for many households over a working lifetime. If the math is done right, the problem is that most people never run the math. They just keep working and hoping. Hope is not a wealth strategy. Friends, the age reality. Everything I've shown you so far has one big blind spot. All those brackets, $23,000, $193,000, $610,000, put all American households into one bucket. It puts a 25-year-old in the same category as a 65-year-old, a new grad with a retiree. That makes no sense. This is where the real shock comes. When you break down net worth by age group, the picture changes entirely. The data shows under 35 median net worth is about $39,000, ages 3, 5, 4, 4. Jumps to $136,000, ages 45 to 54, $247,000, ages 55 to 64, $365,000, ages 65 to 74, $410,000. The peak is here. Let's go back to Kate, 34 years old, negative $7,000 net worth. Compared to the general population, she's in the bottom 25%. But compared to her own age group, the situation is even worse. The median for her age bracket is $39,000. Kate isn't just below the median, she's $46,000 behind the median for her age. She's in roughly the bottom 10% for households under 35. That means 90% of her peers have a higher net worth than she does. But this can powerfully flip the other way too. Take someone who's 45 years old with a net worth of $200,000 against the general population around the median. Not bad, average. But against their own age group, the median is $247,000. They're actually below the midpoint for their peers. And the 75th percentile for that age? $737,000. Not even close. Now, think about the opposite. A 28-year-old with a net worth of $154,000 against the general population, lower middle class. Nothing special. But against their own age group, this puts them at roughly the 75th percentile. Ahead of 3 out of 4 households, their age, same number, completely different story. This is why adjusted benchmarks matter so much. The wealth ladder isn't one-size-fits-all. Where you stand depends heavily on how old you are and how much compounding time you have left. A 30-year-old who's behind has decades to catch up. A 55-year-old who's behind has a much narrower window. The number matters, but the context around that number matters even more. Now, Kate knows where she stands. Negative $7,000, generally in the bottom 25%, roughly the bottom 10th percentile for her age group. The question is, what happens next? Let's run 3 scenarios with real numbers. Scenario 1. Kate changes nothing. She keeps making minimum payments on her student loan and car. She keeps putting 2% of her salary into retirement. She spends the rest at this pace. The student loan takes over 10 years. Retirement grows slowly. At age 54, her net worth might reach $120,000. It sounds like progress until you see that the median for the 55 to 64 age group is $365,000. 2 decades of solid income, and the needle barely moved. That's the cost of coasting. Scenario 2. Kate acts intentionally. She cuts discretionary spending and frees up $700 a month. She puts $400 towards student debt and $300 into investments. The student debt is gone in about 4 years. Once the debt is gone, she diverts that $400 to investments as well. Now she's investing $700 a month. Let's say she buys a modest home at 38 and builds equity. With a 7% average return on investments, at age 54, her portfolio alone is worth about $350,000. Add $150,000 in home equity and other assets. Kate is sitting at $500,000, upper middle class, and about the 75th percentile for her age. Same income, same starting point, just different choices. Scenario 3. Kate goes aggressive. She finds ways to increase her income, side projects, job changes, skill development, and pushes her earnings to $110,000 within 5 years. She continues to live on her old budget, meaning her investable surplus swells. After clearing debt in 3 years, she invests $1,500 a month. At 37, she buys a duplex, lives in one unit, and rents out the other. Housing costs drop while equity builds. At age 54, her investment portfolio is about $700,000. Real estate equity adds another $300,000, total net worth approximately $1 million. Upper class, top 25% of all households, and well above the 90th percentile for her age. From negative $7,000 to $1 million in 20 years. The math works. The only thing required is for Kate to actually run that math and act on it. 3 paths, same starting point, same person, wildly different outcomes. And every single one of these scenarios is built on realistic numbers. No inheritance, no lucky windfall, no lottery ticket. Just the compounding effect of intentional decisions over time. Let's go back to the question I asked at the very beginning. Lower class, middle class, or upper class? Which one are you? When this video started, you had an answer in your head. Now you have the real numbers to check it. And if where you are is different from what you expected, that's not a failure. That's information. The most powerful financial advantage you can have isn't a high income or a lucky break. It's knowing exactly where you are and understanding the math required to get where you want to go. The wealth ladder isn't fixed. People climb it every day. Not by hoping, not by guessing, but by running the numbers and making decisions that fit them. If this content helped you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We continue to explain the real math behind the financial decisions that truly matter.